Greetings, detectives! I'm Dinosaur Neil.
And I'm Detective Ghost Hunter Dave.
And welcome back to IMPERIUS REX!
So, Jeff,
No.
a clue? So we are going to be talking about a much requested book that we read. This was a Batman yarn that a lot of people would say, have you read Gotham Central? And I would reply, I own it.
Like
Is that enough?
You'd answer that 50% of the time, just like that.
That's a low ball.
Oh boy.
But I finally decided to give it a read.
Yeah.
I was, dare I say, a little burned out of the traditional Batman stories during that most recent Bat year.
Well, guess what? This is the perfect remedy just for you.
It sure was, until I got a little burned out of this by the end of it. But overall, it was a nice change of pace, at least for the first couple books here. Yeah. So Gotham Central, brought to us by Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka, with the majority of the art from Michael Lark.
Yeah.
And this was back, it's 40 issues published from 2003 to 2006. So not a long run. I always kind of thought this went longer than that.
They had their stories planned out. They knew exactly what they were doing, apparently.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was very interesting about this is the two writers, Ed and Greg, as I like to call them, they're Christian names.
Yeah.
They rotated every arc. So the first one they kind of co-plotted together, and then Ed would write one, then Greg would write one, and they each dealt with the night shift and the day shift. So Greg only wrote about the day shift, and Ed only wrote about the night shift.
It's excellent.
Yeah, and they were the same characters there. Yeah. So, like, the night crew was his guys, and the day crew was his. So it's a real cool way to do it.
Yeah, the way to break that down is really fun. And it shows. Like, both sides get really cool, interesting stories to play with.
Yeah, and a lot of characters to play with as well.
Very many.
So much that I found myself completely losing track of who anyone was outside of, like, the main two detectives on each of their runs.
Yeah, there were a few that looked similar. And then I was just like, I've lost track of who you are.
It's a procedural. It doesn't matter. But it is interesting because this very much is a police procedural, just in Gotham City, which is a police procedural that I would actually be interested in taking in.
Until they make it, and it's probably hot garbage, and to which I would not.
Well, let's see if that happens. It turns out it did.
Oh, shit.
It is an interesting take to do, like, a very kind of by-the-numbers cop show, but in Gotham City, where, like, all of the crimes are perpetrated by supervillains. And you also have a Batman who is essentially just bungling all of your cases. Just by being there. Yeah. He's kind of detrimental to anything the police are trying to do. Until they need him. A
lot of the force, very hesitant. They're like, don't pull that damn signal lever. We're gonna do it on our own. We can do it. We're the blue collar guys. We don't need any help.
Police.
And then they're like, you gotta do it. Hit the signal.
Hit the signal.
Oh God.
Why is this on the roof? Why don't I have a button under my desk?
Yeah.
I also really liked that legally none of the police force can activate the signal. They have an intern.
Yeah.
And among her intern responsibilities, her duty is to pull the signal when needed, because they can't be tied to the Batman. It has to be a civilian that does it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really interesting take. Commissioner Gordon, he was flipping that thing left and right.
Oh, he didn't care.
Yeah.
Well, Commission ain't around anymore.
That's right. What happened to him? I don't know.
They
don't really say in this. I don't know what happened right before this in the continuity. But him, Bullock, the old guard, they're gone.
Yep.
They're referenced, but essentially they're just like, that was the old Gotham. Like, we don't do that cowboy shit anymore. And like, we follow protocol.
There is a story bringing back one of those characters too, and he wants to do it the old way.
The old-fashioned way. The all or nothing way.
Yeah, absolutely.
The bad way, some may call it.
The terrible way, yes, yeah. But did it get results?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, actually
it did get results. So what's interesting about this is it is a very grounded look at all of the ridiculous Gotham criminals.
Yeah.
To the point where they're still ridiculous, but they're calling them out like, this fucking Mad Hatter guy. Like, Can you believe this
Yeah.
perv?
Yeah,
You know?
I know, right?
Like the stuff that they can't really draw that much attention to in a regular Batman book just because it's a comic and everyone's weird. In this, they're like, these guys are way weirder than everyone else here.
Yeah, they're all real straight-laced, normal people just doing they are just wanting to do their job and go home. Like,
Yes.
they're all these blue-collar guys, which is very actually kind of, that's the refreshing part. It's kind of fun to read right off the bat.
Yeah, they talk like normal people. They have normal lives with families and girlfriends and boyfriends and all that.
Yeah.
And these goddamn supervillains just keep fucking up their day.
One of them froze my partner and broke him in half, and now he's dead, and I'm sad about it.
Yeah. And he's sad for quite a while.
Most of it, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, the first arc is basically like, what happens when Mr. Freeze shatters your partner? And that's what you have to deal with on that day. Yeah. And it was really interesting. And it's another one where it's like, they don't want Batman involved. But at some point, it's like, okay, this is too big for us. This guy's going to shatter every one of us.
This sucks.
Yeah. Get the intern to flip the signal. She's on break. We'll wait.
Yeah. I don't know if the time is weird in this, but when they flip the signal, Batman is immediately there. All the time.
All he does, he's
just
like,
waiting.
They're gonna need me.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm not gonna come off too needy, but I am gonna be there.
Yeah, he is there like that every single time.
Yep. It's also interesting because he is very creepy in this.
Yeah.
Not very often do we get a Batman story from the point of view of anyone other than Batman and his close relationships. It's all normal to them. They're accomplices in this. These guys are like, dude, you're fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of creepy and you don't talk much and you're kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Batman does not seem like a very likable character in this.
No, not at all. He does not say much when he is there. And
sometimes he punches them.
He sure does. But I would say actually Batman, he's probably in like 8 pages of this entire run, essentially.
Yeah. And I think it's a better book for it. I think it's a cool lens to look at Batman through. I mean, we're doing a whole Bat year. We know Batman, you know. But to not know Batman and just only know him through this, you're like, this guy's a loose cannon.
Yeah.
This guy is gonna, like, start some shit.
Yeah. And I think it's all, on the backs of Brubaker and Rucka, like, you really fall in love with some of these characters. Mm-hmm. Crispus Allen, Renee Montoya, the others. There's so many.
There's some good others.
There are some very good others. There's a lot of great characters, but you actually get in their shoes, and you're just like, Batman, God damn you. Like, you wish it just wasn't that way, and it's like, they shine a good light on, like, why that would be so problematic. Yeah. Like, to be a part of.
Oh, for sure. Like, you're trying to do it by the book, and this loose cannon out there just keeps fucking up your shit.
Chief keeps breathing down your neck about all these things.
He's too old for this shit.
Sure is.
The Chief is essentially Murdoch. But Renee Montoya is probably the standout from this. Yeah. She was a pre-established character. She was in the animated series a bit. Yeah. But this is the book that, like, really brought her into the forefront and made her, like, a lead character. Yeah. It's also where it's revealed that she's gay. Yeah. That comes out, and this came out at a time where that was a pretty progressive take for a comic book. Mm-hmm. And it also reflected how fucking unprogressive the world was at that point, because, like, she's employed in, like, the police station boys club where, like, just her being outed, they're just, like, ripping on her and making fun of her. And you're reading this, you're like, this was not that long ago.
No,
but, like,
this
holy
sucks.
shit. Like, these guys all suck.
Yeah. Yeah, they're no... Some of them are no good. And it's even guys, like, who you've kind of, like, been written to like a little bit, and you're just like,
Yeah, it's a different time.
Dick? Yeah, it sure was. And,
but yeah, she's outed by Two-Face, as it turns out, which I thought was a weird turn for that character. I don't know what their history was, but apparently they had some sort of kind of romantic relationship. Maybe when he was Harvey Dent still, I'm assuming.
We don't know.
But he's still been, like, carrying a torch for her and thinks, like, by outing her, she's going to somehow kind of, like, have to fall back on him for help. Yeah. But she ends up just kicking the shit out of him, and...
Her, like, main story where that's all going down with Two-Face, is very good, and like that's the subject material you're going with. It's like her dealing with pretty much office bullies and spy, or like people like paparazzi guy, or like private eyes, like trying to like out her and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it has nothing to do with it, like other than like Two-Face being a quote unquote supervillain or whatever you want to say for Batman, but like it's all this real life grounded stuff that she's just going through.
Right.
Her like day-to-day life.
So this book was pretty instrumental at that time. It won a bunch of awards for those issues. It won like Harvey and Eisner awards at that time, among others. So it was looked at very fondly upon publication, and it still is.
Yeah.
Some other good standout arcs. There's one where the Joker is sniping people all across Gotham, which might be the most real-life horrifying that the Joker has ever been. Like, he doesn't have some chemical factory Joker toxin scheme. It is just him creating terror by shooting people from a rooftop all over Gotham, and you don't know who it's going to be or when he's going to strike. And
the American way.
Yeah, this was before a guy went into the Batman theater and shot up a bunch of people calling himself the Joker.
Yeah.
So, art... What is it? Life imitating art? Art imitating life?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was chilling. It's also one where one of the main character's partners dies, and Batman is unable to save him, and then that character just harbors a grudge for Batman throughout the entire rest of the book.
Yeah. Like, the fact that the cops don't want to use Batman, and then when he gets involved and screws things up, like, they just hate him even more.
Yeah.
But it's just like, they're torn between having him get stuff done because they know he can, and then, but, like, just lambasting him when he screws up. It's like it's just a lose-lose for him.
Oh, for sure, because he obviously can't be everywhere, he can't do anything, so when he misses the ball or drops the ball, then, like, that is more fuel to the fire against him.
Yeah.
And then there's also one involving, as you mentioned, Harvey Bullock. One of those old cases that gets reopened involving, like, a bunch of child deaths.
Yeah.
Like a bomber, I think, that may have been mind-controlled by the Mad Hatter.
Yep.
And Harvey pulls himself out of retirement, forced retirement, and goes back to his old ways of hitting the pavement and trying to get some answers.
This had... I think this was probably my favorite arc of all of these four trades here, because Bullock is awesome. Like,
I thought you were gonna say awful, and I would have nodded in agreement with either of those.
And he is awful too. But so he's not in it until
he's Dirty Harry. Essentially,
he is. And like, you've read this whole first book, he's not in it. They're all trying to do everything by the book, and then they're like,
and they do mention like you don't want to end up like Bullock.
Yeah, and
so you get little hints about what happened.
At first, I thought Bullock was dead the way they talked about him, but he's not. He's drinking himself to death in a bar.
Yep.
And he's like one of the only detectives that was on this case back in the day, and they think he might have more information. And they go to him, and he is just a shitbag, but it's almost like this breath of fresh air that breathes into these guys, where it's just like a completely different, like, he's going in, nearly kills the Penguin. Like, fucking tell me what's going on, or he's gonna blow him and his own brains out. Like, he's a loose cannon.
Plays by his own rules, trying to clean up a city that likes to be dirty.
But, like, it's such a wide, like, disparity between how he did it back in his day and how they're trying to do it now. It's such a cool story, and, like, I almost found myself kind of, like, rooting for Bullock, but also, like, you're a real shit bloke, man.
I know. Like, and you wonder, like, is he going to kind of get his act together and come back to the Force? Spoiler, he does not. No. And that's, like, the only time we see him. And eventually he does end up back in, like, the police continuity. I don't know when or how, but, like,
who knows?
For this window, it's interesting that they're just like, yeah, he fucked up all his chances and he's off. Like, we don't deal with people like that anymore.
Right.
When in reality, like, a city like Gotham, you kind of do need a Bullock
I was
in there.
gonna say, you're either dealing with someone like Batman or you have to deal with Bullock.
Yeah.
There's no in between. You can't get it done the right way.
No. As we're just kind of going through some of the more notable arcs, there's a lot here. As we said, there's 40 issues. There's a lot of one-shots and stuff.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of chatting in police squad cars and the office and stuff, which is all fun banter.
And like, it's a very quick read, too.
Yeah.
It's not just info dumps, it's conversational, which makes it a breeze to read. But as you're flipping through to be like, all right, so what all happened? it's just images of people talking. So it's very hard to remember every detail.
Yeah.
In full disclosure, I read this like 2 months ago.
Correct.
So I had to refresh myself a little bit, and this is a more broad strokes episode. But another kind of notable arc that I liked a lot was the Dead Robins one.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden, all these kids are popping up around Gotham dead, dressed in the Robin suit, and at first everyone's like, is it the Robin? And they're like checking him out, running background checks, and thinking like, oh shit, this might be Batman's partner. They're trying to like track down Batman. They bring the Teen Titans into the station,
right?
And then they find more bodies popping up, and it turns out there's like a serial killer out there who is just killing people and dressing them as Robin to try to become like a notable Batman villain. He wants like that prestige. And they finally, like, they get him, and he's in the interrogation room, and he won't talk to the police. He's like, I'm only going to talk to Batman.
All right.
So they go out on the roof, and they light up the signal, and Batman's instantly there. He's like, oh, did you guys see me? I was just walking by. And they're like, he's only going to talk to you. Get in there and get the confession out of him. And Batman's like, kill the lights.
No.
And then, like, the guy shows the guy in the interrogation room, lights go out, he's like, what's going on? And then Batman's there on the table, and he's basically doing the swear to me thing. And then, like, 10 seconds later, like, door opens up, Batman, like, hops out whistling,
I don't know
he's
why
like,
you couldn't
got it. Kind of one of those moments where it's like, shit, we do kind of need to work together here.
Yeah.
Neither of them, well, Batman wanted to. They didn't want to, but it was the only way they were going to be able to put the case to rest.
This one had a little interesting twist with the girl who can throw the switch, the intern, because she actually had correspondence with Robin, the alive, real Robin.
Yes.
Which was kind of interesting because...
Like, I'm not dead.
Yeah, and it was funny because he's like... He had to, like, essentially... like, explain to her, like,
he's not that bad.
Yeah, he's not that bad.
He doesn't treat me that bad. He's like a little kid passing notes between parents.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like, he's not going to talk to you, but, like, he wanted me to tell you this.
Yes. Like, your officer did point a gun at him, so he kind of got his I'm sorry he broke his nose, but...
there's this whole thing where Batman takes her gun away from an officer.
And he won't give it back.
And finally, like, Robin has to get it back and give it to him. I thought that was great. It's like an ongoing plot for quite a while. Just can't get his gun back. Yeah. So, as this winds down, we get to like the last chunk of this book, where I think it takes a very strange turn. So we're following like the main characters that it's bouncing back and forth, but our main characters for the most part are Crispus and Renee.
Yeah.
And there's also this side character, a real piece of shit, Jim Corrigan, who's this corrupt crime scene investigator who's on the take. He sells shit, he taints evidence, he's just a complete dirtbag. Yeah. And everyone knows it, but nobody can build a case against him, except Crispus and Renee are trying to. Right. To the point where Renee goes and beats the shit out of him earlier. Yeah. Because they were trying to frame Crispus for something that he didn't do, and she ended up getting it dropped by intimidating Corrigan. But now Corrigan has it out for him. Yeah. And he ends up gunning down Crispus, like one of our main characters in the last story arc he's killed. Yeah. And the last story arc is basically, that happens, he's getting off scot-free, Renee just spirals into alcoholism, which she's been on the cusp of for the entire book. Yeah. Like, kind of burns all her bridges, and then tracks down Corrigan, has him, as Troy would say, dead to rights. Yeah. Yeah. And he just completely crumbles and begs and pleads, and she has a change of heart and decides, I won't kill him, and then turns in her badge and gun, and quits the force, and that's it. Yeah. And that's the end of the book. Yeah. And it's like such a weird whimper for it to go out on, I feel like. Yeah, unless... Like, nothing is accomplished. She basically just kind of gives up. And unless it's trying to say, like, there is just no saving Gotham Police Force. Because all you know is being this corrupt organization, essentially. And it's just like, they've been in it for so long, she's been just had enough. Yeah. And, like, her partner was, like, murdered in cold blood by this fucking crooked crime scene dude. Crooked Corrigan. Crooked Corrigan. And she just had enough. Things just don't change around here. It's just terrible. I feel like it's the ending to the first part of a longer story.
Yeah.
Which it kind of is, but not in any way that you could, like, read it all in a chunk like you can Gotham Central.
Right.
Because apparently this book was never a top seller. It barely ever broke, like, the top 100.
Oh, wow.
But it was always fairly critically acclaimed, and there was never any worry about it being canceled. It just wasn't a top-selling book. And then as they got towards the end of this, everyone, Brubaker, Rucka, and Michael Lark, just kind of were like, I think we're done.
Yeah.
They just kind of, like, got to the end, they're like, I think this is enough. And then there was a big universe-spanning event happening at DC called Infinite Crisis, which they took a year and all the titles were on hiatus and they did 52, that book 52.
Right.
And they just thought, like, this would be the time to end this because everything's going to get thrown in disarray.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make sense for this to kind of drag on during that or come back a year later.
Yeah.
So they actually have Renee Montoya appear in 52 as a fairly main character. Her storyline continues and she actually becomes the new Question.
Cool.
In that.
Yeah.
Which is cool and everything, but, like, it isn't, like, a direct follow-up. It's like, here's what happens, but, like, you can't concisely read what happens to any of these characters, like, in a sitting.
Right. Part of me would love to see, like, Rucka and Brubaker doing a Renee Montoya Question book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
That still ties into this?
Right. Like,
that would be phenomenal.
The other policemen kind of pop up in it,
yeah.
but it's just about her after this, rather than it being mixed in with 52 issues of 52, which is universe-spanning, and there's, like, a handful of parts that she's in.
Yeah.
It's like, it just wasn't, like, the ending I wanted for it.
Sometimes I wish they could just say, this is just its own thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be part, like, I get your universe needs to make sense and have ramifications, but, like, it just didn't work for this one.
Yeah, and we also get the first hints of that big Infinite Crisis shakeup because there's a one-shot right before the final arc where the world is in disarray because of all this shit going down, which you have no context for if you're only reading this. It's just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, the Gotham's under attack, there's gods fighting in the sky, the Specter is fighting people, and Crispus is just trying to, like, make his way home to his family.
Yeah.
And it's a very good single issue, but you're just like, what happened between these two?
I know. So, there's things taking a huge turn here, and then it just goes back to life as usual.
And they're like,
you're like,
we need to end this book.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe, I think that's what kind of throws it off too, is there's like this big grand thing that you're expecting to happen, and then just the way it kind of goes after that, you're just like, well, you can't do that and then end it like this.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't resonate.
It's like that issue shouldn't have even been included in this.
I agree.
That would kill me as a completionist, but it does nothing for this overall thing. It should have just been, like, left out.
Crispus loves his family.
Yep.
But we could have guessed that because he has a heart of gold.
Because he's a great man.
Yes, he is.
So here's my other complaint, and this is on me. But this whole book, the volumes are labeled.
Mm-hmm.
The last book is called Corrigan. The character Jim Corrigan is in this throughout. So I'm like, oh, something's going down with Corrigan. Here's another thing about Jim Corrigan. He's the Specter. The DC, the Specter, who I love. In this whole thing, I'm like, how does that character become the Specter? And I'm like, and then the Specter is in this. And I'm like, wait, what is going on? Like, there's only one arc left. How are they going to turn him into the Specter? And I'm sitting here like, this guy's a piece of shit. How has he become, like, the angel of death, like, hand of God, ghostly universal being of the Specter? And how is that going to happen in Gotham Central?
Well,
and I am reading this, like, how is it going to happen? And then it doesn't happen. And then I find out it's a different Jim Corrigan. It's just another character in Gotham named Jim Corrigan. And I'm like, what? Why is this guy called Jim Corrigan if he's not that Jim Corrigan? And to make it even odder, Crispus Allen becomes the second incarnation of the Specter after this. And I'm like, there are too many similarities for this not to be what I thought it was going to be.
Now I'm just befuddled because I'm like, what? Did they not know what's going on?
He could have literally been named anything else.
Yes.
But to name him the same name as the Specter when this character kills the guy that later becomes the next incarnation of the Specter. I'm just like, this is on me because this is what I was expecting going in. But I'm like, am I out of line on this? Like, I didn't do too much digging because I didn't want it spoiled for me. And then I found out there's nothing to spoil. It's nothing.
If you want me to write to the Eisner Awards and have them
revoke.
Take it back, I will.
Yeah. that very gay empowering issue that you did that was remarkable for the times, I would like that revoked because we didn't like how these made up characters intermix.
Why did you use a different name?
Yeah.
God.
So yeah, I was just, by the end of it, I was like, that's it? Like, what?
They didn't shoot Crispus and a ghost came out and he's like, I'm the Specter now!
Nope, you just find out later that he becomes the next Specter, and apparently that Jim Corrigan, I don't know if he ever does anything after this, but he's not the Jim Corrigan Specter.
Shit. Some people have the same name, I
They do, but come on.
If you can write it a different way, you should.
Yeah. Because I love the Specter. I wanted a Specter.
Oh, God!
Oh, my God. Am I going to have to read a Specter book to get the Specter? Is that what I need to do?
Don't tell Troy.
No. But yeah, that's it. It ends on a whimper for me. Mm-hmm. I thought it starts off great. I think you could kind of cherry pick which arcs you want to read because some are better than others. Yeah. And I don't think the entire thing is essential because I don't think it ends very well.
No, and I think you can kind of read whatever issues, whatever arcs you want because, like, outside of maybe just growing a fondness for a certain character, it doesn't really carry a lot through. Maybe the one guy's partner getting shattered is the most thing that gets carried through.
Can't get over it.
But yeah,
every time he gets ice out of the freezer, he goes
like,
into a flashback.
Oh, no.
Oh, Jerry!
I wonder if Lark was like, I'm tired of just drawing regular people.
Yeah, maybe. I did love his art throughout this. So,
it's
like
awesome.
As we said, it's sometimes the people look interchangeable, but they're just all normal folks, and it's a breezy art style that you can just like. It's perfect for this.
It really is. Yeah. Super good.
Yep. So overall, I would say Gotham Central, good breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
If you want something a little different while still being in that Batman model.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hit every mark that I wanted it to.
Yeah. We heard your Specter rant.
I can say it again.
Oh, well, no.
Surprised the Riddler didn't pop up in it, actually.
Yeah,
but for the most part, it's just like crazy clown people and penguins.
And weirdos.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
Freeze is probably as odd as it gets, and he's right off the bat.
Yeah, and that's right off the bat, yeah.
Overall, recommended.
Yeah.
And if you're like recommending it to someone that isn't a big superhero fan, this might be a good gateway drug.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely recommended.
Oh my!
How do you like that?
I love it.
Okay.
Let's cut the feed right now. It's never gonna get better than that. Hold on, I have more to say about Specter.
Oh God, no! Before he gets to that, have you read Gotham Central? Do you just like detectives? Do you like police procedurals? Check this book out. Let us know in the comments down below if you liked it. And hey, if you like our show, feel free to go to our Patreon. We have cool stuff there if you'd like to throw in a few bucks there.
That's right.
Yeah. We got exclusive stuff that we can get through there, and you get access to our Discord, which we're talking comic books all the time. And not only that, what you had for dinner last night?
That's right. Sometimes we don't talk about comics. Sometimes we just talk about Blade.
And it's a lot about Blade.
Yeah.
But hey, if you like that stuff too, we also have merch available at redbubble.com where you can get stuff of all different sorts with our faces on it. So if you'd like to support the channel in any way, that would be very much appreciated. We love that kind of stuff.
That's right. We'll see if we can get Troy back if the palms are greased enough.
We will see, but this wooden table's doing A-okay for now.
That's right.
But until next time, I have been Dinosaur Neil.
And I've been a Ghost Hunter Dave.
So keep it fresh out there, detectives, and we have been Imperius Rex. Catch you next time.
Flip that signal. Or get someone to do it for you. Off the payroll.
icky, icky.
Oh, no! Where's Bullock? Need Bullock for this one.
Shoots your finger off.
Had to be done. It's the only way to make sense out of this
Quick
madness.
Ryan.